By Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary. Very good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to be talking about some of the announcements you're making on schools in a moment, but first, it's a big day for the Assisted Dying Bill, which returns to the Commons today for debate. You voted against this previously. I wondered if anything that has changed in this bill has persuaded you to change your mind.
No, I haven't changed my mind, but I do just want to stress that this is a matter for Parliament. It's for individual MPs who have different views, and I know have thought really hard about the position that they're taking. So it's not a matter for the government. We don't have a position on this. Individual members of Parliament who today take part in any votes will do so on the basis of what they believe to be the right thing to do.
Absolutely, but give us an idea of what's informed your decision. What are you most concerned about? Are you concerned that the safeguards in place? Are you concerned about possible coercion? What are your reservations about it?
I understand the question, and I'm not seeking to be difficult when I say this, but as a government minister, given that the government doesn't have a position on this and it's for individual members of Parliament, I've not really sought to engage in the commentary on this and why. I've set out my position to my constituents. I have a long-standing position that hasn't changed. I don't feel that the bill is the right way forward. I've been clear about that, but of course other members of Parliament take a different position for very good reason, and that's what the debate in Parliament today will explore further.
Well, yes, absolutely. And as you say, every MP has to follow their own heart and their own feelings and commitments on this issue. But what's the mood, would you say, amongst colleagues? Would you say that support of the bill is shifting at all?
I'm afraid I don't really want to get into that. It's for individual MPs. They'll decide how they want to approach this. They will think about it really hard. This is a sensitive and difficult issue. And I know that everyone is motivated by seeking to do what they believe is the right thing by the country and by the people that they represent. That's the approach I take. I know colleagues who have a different opinion on this topic also come at it with good intention.
OK, well, some MPs are arguing there isn't enough time to debate it. I wonder what your view is on that, given that it's a private member's bill. Has enough time been given for this to be properly argued through? As you say, it is such a contentious and emotional for many subject.
It is a big and important subject, and there are strongly held views, and there's been a lot of discussion in committee. There was a lot of discussion when the bill was first brought forward, and today and on a number of what we call Sitting Fridays, there'll be further discussion about the way forward on this. As I say, as a government minister, it's not my job to kind of comment on the process or talk about this in any detail, because I wouldn't want colleagues to think I'm seeking to influence their views. They can come to their own conclusions, and I'm sure that Parliament will make sure that all of the issues are properly aired.
OK, well, let's move on then to another issue, and that is the announcement by the Prime Minister of plans to introduce so-called returned hubs to send failed asylum seekers to. Explain to us what a return hub is and how these are going to work.
So it would apply to those who've had their cases processed, where they haven't got the right to be here in the UK, but where there will be difficulties in returning them to the country from which they've come. So it would be a safe third country where we could reach agreement with others around what a hub would look like. Now, those discussions are underway with a number of countries. I should be clear that Albania was never one of those countries. The Prime Minister was there yesterday, meeting with the Albanian government to talk about what further action we can take together to crack down on the organised gangs that exploit human misery. And we have made real progress with further joint working and a joint task force to crack down on those organised criminals.
You say that Albania was never part of those discussions. Why did the Prime Minister then choose to announce return hubs in Albania? Is that a bit of a daft decision?
We've always been clear about the Albanian government's position. They have an arrangement with Italy. There was never any intention to have that discussion with the Albanian Prime Minister or the government. But what our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, was able to do was to work with a key partner in Albania to deliver that further work on the joint task force, to really crack down on the organised criminal gangs that exploit human misery, that send migrants across Europe, often at great peril. And we know that Albania is a close partner in tackling this.
But it did mean that there was that rather embarrassing moment when you had the Albanian Prime Minister basically repudiating the idea. I mean, in front of the Prime Minister, that's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? What happened there? Were there crossed wires or something?
Look, I think people are overreading this a bit. You know, we knew, Keir Starmer knew the the position of the Albanian government prior to going to Albania. Albania is not a country that we were considering asking to engage in discussion around hubs. There are other countries that the Home Secretary will be working with to secure such agreements. But I think it's also worth pointing out that in addition to any such agreements, we've also been able to secure big numbers in terms of deportations of those who have no right to be in this country alongside foreign national offenders. And through the work that's been set out around the immigration white paper, we want to make sure that once again we have a fair, manageable immigration system where the British people can be confident that the rules are enforced and the rules are enforced fairly.
OK, so which countries are you talking to?
I'm not in a position to talk about who we're in discussions with. The Home Secretary is leading that work, and when there's an update in terms of any progress, I'm sure she'll be able to provide that.
OK, so you're not naming any of the countries you're in talks with about hosting these centres. Even if you do strike a deal to host one, aren't the chances that this is going to get mired in all sorts of legal problems? I mean, look at the experience of Italy, which has done a deal with Albania. A lot of their moves to do just the same have been stuck in the courts. I think only about 40 people have gone. So is this really going to work practically, or is this more about sending a message?
We do think it can have practical application, but it's one of a number of measures where we're taking action. So increasing the number of deportations for those who have no right to be here, big increase in what we've been able to secure as a government, but alongside that, making sure that foreign national offenders return home when they finish serving their prison sentences, again, where we've seen a big increase. We know that there is much more to do, and we know that many people lost confidence under the last government in the ability to maintain our borders and to have a fair and workable system that means that those who have a right to be here get the support to play a full role in our country, but where people don't have a right to be here, we take action to make sure that they're removed.
You are announcing today an increase in mental health support for schools. You've also talked today about children being taught the value of grit. Do you think that children don't have grit?
I think it's more a question that it's often hard to be a young person growing up today, and life can have its ups and downs. And what I'm announcing is that together with the Health Secretary is that over 1 million more children will now be able to benefit from mental health support teams. There'll be access for up to 1 million more children than was the case before. And in over 60% of children and young people having that support. If we can get in there early when children are having problems, we know we can make a big difference, because what's also clear is that where young people have mental health problems, that has a knock-on effect on their attendance at school. And we've made really big progress in recovering some of the losses that we've seen in recent years. 3 million more days in school this year compared to the same time last year. That's really encouraging, but there's a lot more we need to do. And young people's mental health is a really important part of that jigsaw about how we ensure that they're in school, that they're able to thrive, and yes, that they're able to manage the ups and downs that can come of being a young person in modern Britain.
And I need to let you go, but I want to ask you one further question about the possibility of strikes, because the NASUWT and the National Education Union, the NEU, which together represent the bulk of England's teaching workforce, are poised to strike if you can't secure additional funding to match the 2025-2026 pay award. Will you be able to do that and see off the prospects of strikes? Well,
strikes would be in no one's interest, least alone children who've already, as I've said, missed out a terrible amount, and the last thing we would want would be further disruption to their education. We are investing more in our schools, and my message would be that we're making that investment happen. We're delivering better life chances for children. The union should work with us in that endeavour.
You're confident there'll be no strikes, are you?
Well, I think that would be the last thing parents want, the last thing that I would want, and I would urge those considering it to think really seriously about the impact that would have on children's well-being, on their attendance at school.
OK, Bridget Phillipson, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.